It was literally what I ended up with was somebody who was going to champion my cause and help me get it out there, even at times when I'm not inspired to do it, and make it as simple and easy as possible for me, not just to get the message out, but to win and help more people with it.
Hi, this is Kyle with the Podcast Factory, and today I'm speaking with Bob Gardner. Bob helps people overcome their addictions permanently. He is the host of the Alive and Free podcast, and his website is thefreedomspecialist.com. Hey, Bob, I would love to know, what are some of the obstacles that would have prevented you from buying this service from the Podcast Factory?
As soon as I talked to JR about helping me host a podcast, he was very, very clear that you guys knew what you were doing, that he knew this inside and out. This was really about me in a big way. So I even have a hard time calling it a product or service, because this was JR and the company just jumped into my life and was like, hey, how can we make your life improved? In this just happens to be through a podcast. There wasn't any obstacle at all in my mind.
And what has been your previous experience with podcasting?
It's totally new to me. I wanted to do a podcast for a long time because I knew it would help me not just get the message out to try and help people, but also help people find us. I knew it was something that I've wanted to do for a long time, because there's a lot of things that I teach, a lot of things that we do that radically change perspective on what most people think about addiction, depression, suicidal stuff, and everything else. But I'd never tried one, because every time I thought about it, I was like, okay, good, I could go record myself, but I don't know the podcasting thing. I don't know how to set it up. I don't know what the right equipment is or what the right settings are. What do I do after I get it up? What does this have to do with it? I didn't know any. It would have been a shot in the dark. And so every time I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that would be so cool. People told me, you should podcast. And I was like, yeah, I should. And nothing ever happened, because I just didn't know how to go from a podcast would be an amazing idea and a wonderful service to people to I actually have a podcast and it's going out and doing that.
So what have you found now as a result of working with the Podcast Factory?
So it's up. We launched the podcast, and right now, like it's still in its infancy a little bit, so I don't know how it's going to go and whatnot. But we're getting a lot of people to listen right now, even with just the first few episodes. Hundreds of downloads, even just the first couple episodes, and the third one dropped today, I think. And it's easy. It just radically shifted everything, and partly because when they set it up, it wasn't just about, yes, it was about, look, I have a business that I help people do stuff, and the podcast is one way to get people there so that we can help them. But it wasn't just about that. When I've had the first conversation with JR, he's like, look, I don't want you to just have a business podcast or a podcast that focuses on what you do. I want this to be something that can grow with you as you grow and you evolve. And so it became this open-ended thing instead of another task on my plate. A place where I could share my ideas, a place where I could share what I've experienced in my growth, a place where I could open up in an even greater way. And that's been sort of freeing, and it's also given me a way to help people for free. Free to them anyway, not free to me, but free to them anyway. So that people who don't have a dime or people who are living paycheck to paycheck can still have somebody who knows what it's like to get out of addiction, have somebody who understands it inside and out, in their mind, and helping them get a clearer perspective on things that are just going to be needed to help them find freedom. And if people find it from that, man, that's awesome. I've had people respond back, because I sent them an email letting them know what the show is going to be about. And I've had a number of people respond back going, man, this is amazing. I had somebody call me up, a good friend of mine, and go like, look, I've listened to the podcast for a long time, and what you've been able to put together has just been so applicable. Even though you're talking about addiction and I'm dealing with this other stuff, it was straight across the board. I could see how this applied in my life, and it was absolutely amazing. So I've had people reach out in a few ways, clients of mine who are getting benefit from it, people who aren't clients and maybe never will be, who have reached out and just said, thank you, that was an amazing show. I really love what you're putting down. So
that's it. Were you surprised by how much more you received?
I think saying it's tools, teams, and tactics, the Podcast Factory, is an understatement of what's really there even. Because that puts it in this pithy little box that says, oh yeah, we're giving you tools, teams, and tactics for your podcast. This was literally such a radical shift. I spoke with another company beforehand and was looking at them to possibly do it. And they weren't as It wasn't as big an investment for them. The focus was almost entirely on, okay, let's get your message out. Good. And these are all the cool features and things we're going to do for it. And it just never panned out for one way or another. And when I spoke with JR, it was like a totally different shift, because it wasn't about just, hey, let's get your voice and your message onto the big screen, so to speak. It was, let's create a place for you to be you online that will grow with you. And behind it is somebody who is not just somebody who's a really good podcast creator, but he's a technician. He's a business consultant as well. And so he's using the entire platform, not just to get your voice out, but to help. Yeah, what if you could help people and also put bacon on the table? And so he cares about how your business is structured and making it easier for you. I got a box in the mail with a whole bunch of stuff. Here's all the equipment you're going to need. Well, thank you. I don't have to go get the equipment. And it's just like there's a level of care. I know I can reach out to him if I got questions anytime. And he really became a friend in a really big way and treated me as someone who he respected. And it's like he became a champion for what I'm doing anyway. And so it wasn't just, hey, I bought somebody who has tools, teams, and tactics. It was literally what I ended up with was somebody who was going to champion my cause and help me get it out there, even at times when I'm not inspired to do it, and make it as simple and easy as possible for me, not just to get the message out, but to win and help more people with it, because then everybody wins.
Is there anything specifically about the actual podcasting service, though, that you've really benefited from?
What I like is the service itself, the podcasting service itself. It kind of has almost all of the exact same features that the other guy did, who was doing all the whiz bang bells and whistles. But literally, they're like, yeah, let us post it to social media for you so that I don't have to. They're creating all of these little places where, you know, they can get the word out in that way, and it's all automated. So literally all I have to do is sit down and record and then talk with them from time to time to make sure that we're headed in a good direction that's going to help more people and have the biggest effect. So I have very little to do, which is surprising to me. I find myself, well, what do I need to do next? What do I need to do next? Because I'm so used to spinning plates. And he's like, just chill, enjoy it. You know, like you've got these episodes you've created, let them roll. We'll look at them. And it's really been absolutely amazing to have it be that easy. And on top of it, to have show transcripts and full notes and all of the other, the images and the quotes and the other things that go into it, because they become shareable. They become another way, another asset for my company that I can use in a bunch of different ways. You know, I could take all the transcripts and turn it into a book for all I know. There's so many different things I could do. And he just handed me all of those assets. Hey, here you go. Do whatever the heck you want with this. And that's something that was unexpected, because I just expected to be able to record my voice and it's out there. And not with all of the extra work that goes on behind the scenes to edit it and to make sure that it's, you know, done right, and to have lift notes and show notes and highlights and quotes and images and transcripts and everything else hosted. It's been amazing.
How has starting a podcast affected your other marketing channels?
I think it's given me a way to other marketing channels. I really only had one major one, and so this allowed me to diversify it a little bit. But in this one feels different, because I noticed early on that when people can just talk with me and understand that I'm a person and that what we got going on here is something pretty spectacular, when they hear my voice, when they get to listen to me talk and listen to how I think, there's a very different reaction, a very different relationship we have when they're considering working with us or not, because they show up already getting a sense of who they're going to be working with, and there's a bigger layer of trust there. So that has been huge for us to be able to just send people something that's free for them to listen to, so that when they're ready, they can just come to us and they're already comfortable with who I am. They're comfortable with what we do as a company, and then they can really get a lot of benefit out of it. So I think if anything, it's helped to right now. And this is what, 3 episodes in? I mean, so come on, we're not, give us 6 months. We'll take over the world, you know? But it's already started to build a level of trust that only enhances anything we do in any other marketing platform.
What do you hope that your podcast accomplishes?
So my hope is a couple of things. One, the biggest thing that needs to happen, obviously, when you're running a business and a podcast is there as a service, we want it to make sure that that becomes a really valuable place where people can come and find us. But in terms of the overall long-term effect of it, It's not just addiction that we deal with. I mean, depression, suicidal stuff, OCD, anxiety, anger issues. People are stuck and suffering in all kinds of ways. Addiction happens to be one symptom of the stuckness. And we work with getting rid of what's really at the bottom of it. And there are people suffering all over the planet, all over the world, that need help, and they need guidance, and they need hope. There's too many of them that have been told that they're always just going to be dealing with it, that they've been sort of diagnosed and it's over with. And if we can bring hope back to the world, and if we can help end human suffering, at least in some small degree. I mean, I can only foresee, this isn't even business stuff, but imagine the number of families that now no longer have a dad who's irate just for no reason at all. And what do those kids grow up getting to experience now? Imagine the number of political wars and squabbles that maybe could be averted because we don't have people that are so busy suffering that they can't actually function in relationship with another human being without it being a fight. I mean, I look long term at the world needs something to help end all of this internal turmoil that's going on, especially in the West, because people just aren't happy. And when they can find happiness within themselves, then the constant need to go like buy stuff for happiness, or the constant need to go do things to help you feel happy, or drink yourself out of it, or use pornography, or go and like beat someone, or just, ignore people or treat people poorly, or waste your entire life on social media or whatever it is, that can change. And so in the long run, this is something that I feel like the world needs, the planet needs. And the end game of the podcast, hopefully, is that it starts to help move things that direction.
Would you recommend the Podcast Factory to other businesses and people who might be looking to do something similar?
100%. Obviously, if you don't have money to invest in a podcast and you're just doing it just because you want to have a podcast and whatnot, then it's not going to make sense. And I imagine they would tell you that. Yeah, go just do it on your own, use these tools and have a good time with it. But if you're looking to actually grow and spread your message in a good way, to have somebody on there who can keep their finger on the pulse of that while you're doing the other work that you're doing, I can't think of a better person to have on your team, honestly, because it's not just a podcast that you're getting. You're getting somebody who cares deeply about you, about what you care about, and about what your results you want. And he'll do everything he can to make sure that happens for you. And that's more than a podcast. And the podcast is this nice bonus byproduct where you get to hear yourself on audio and be like, dude, I'm famous, at least to me. That's just a byproduct. The other people I've spoken with, people I've looked at, it's not that they're bad people, and it's not that they don't care, and it's not that they don't want to get you results, but I've never found the heart anywhere else that I feel behind this company, where it's not just, okay, we got another client and we're trying to get them to run a podcast. Literally, you can feel it. They want you to win.
I kind of get the feeling that maybe JR and just the team behind the Podcast Factory probably see the world in a very similar way that you do.
Yeah, I would imagine so. They really care about making a difference by helping people who can make a difference get their message out.